Hello everyone, Barbara Banks here of Wilderness Travel, and I'm absolutely delighted to have Mark Butcher here. Mark is simply the best safari guide I've ever traveled with in Africa, but more importantly is the extraordinary story of community and conservation that runs through everything that Mark does, from the award-winning lodges that he has to the incredible experiences that one has with him on safari in Zimbabwe. So with no further ado, I'm going to turn you over to some amazing images and Mark Butcher himself.
Thank you very much, Barbara, and good morning to all of you out there. As Barbara said, I'm Mark Butcher. I'm the Managing Director of Vela Safari Lodges, and we're the group that works with Wilderness Travel to put this wonderful itinerary together. I'm going to talk to you through this itinerary today and show you the range of exciting lodges, different topographies, and all the wonderful wildlife and nature that we enjoy on this trip. Without any further ado, I'm going to start off with a map here. For those of you who are familiar with Southern Africa, just bear with me. But for those of you who are not, Zimbabwe is in the northern and central part of Southern Africa. You can see with the orange country there. To the west is Botswana, and to our south, South Africa. To our east, Mozambique, and the north is Zambia. If you look at that picture there, you can see to our south in South Africa, there's Johannesburg. And Johannesburg is usually the hub for most of your air travel to come and start off your trip with us up in Victoria Falls in the northwest of Zimbabwe there. Okay, the next picture here is just zooming in a little more on Zimbabwe. You can see our capital city in Harare is off in the far northeast of the country, but we're focused on this trip in the northwest. The top left of Zimbabwe is Hwange National Park and, of course, Victoria Falls. This map zooms in specifically on that and lays out the routing for this trip. Okay, you arrive at Victoria Falls, short stay at Gorge's Lodge. You see it there just outside Victoria Falls. Then there's an air charter down to Camelthorne Lodge on the southeast corner of Hwange National Park. And from there we travel back northwest up to Nahimba Lodge and then up to Zambezi Sands. Here we finish up on the Zambezi River. You can see it just to the west of Victoria Falls. That's where that trip finishes. At that point, you can then either embark at Victoria Falls Airport again to fly home, or you can add on one of the extensions offered by Wilderness Travel. There's a lovely trip to Mana Pools up in the far north of the country, or even to Cape Town. All right, your trip will start with us where we meet you at Victoria Falls Airport. There you can see the big new modern airport. We're very proud of it. It's been working well for the past year. And Victoria Falls Airport, very, very, very easy to get to. There are daily flights by both British Airways and South African Airways from Johannesburg that link in. So you can organize your travel arrangements fairly easily. And, of course, the exciting news is our new airport is attracting some of the big long-haul wide-body jets from the other airlines bringing direct flights. Ethiopian is kicking off with direct flights from Addis to Victoria Falls in March this year. All right, a quick little overview of the itinerary. I showed you the map and how it laid out. We kick off with 2 nights in the Victoria Falls area, staying at Gorge's Lodge. From there, we charter flights across Hwange National Park, down to Camelthorne Lodge, which is in southern Hwange, where we stay for 3 nights. We enjoy some of the things that are unique to that part of the park. And then we travel back north on the Elephant Express rail car up to northern Hwange. And in northern Hwange, we'll spend 2 nights at Nahimba Lodge, which is an extraordinary experience and just a good chance to see the northern part of the park. From there on, we travel across the park and back up to Victoria Falls, where we'll spend 2 nights at Zambezi Sands River Camp. Great place to finish off the safari, a calm, peaceful environment on the banks of the Zambezi River. We can enjoy some water-based activities up there. And after that, it's a short road transfer up to Victoria Falls Airport, about an hour's drive, where you can either depart from there and head home, or you can depart on the tour extension options. All right, of course, that's Victoria Falls itself, one of the 7 natural wonders of the world. I've seen it myself thousands, maybe even tens of thousands of times, and every time you see it, it takes your breath away. A tremendous spectacle. Okay, that's me on the right-hand side there. I'm one of your tour leaders, and it'll either be myself or my colleague Sib Sabanda. That's him on the Land Rover there. meet you at the airport, and we'll escort you down from the airport to Gorge's Lodge, which will be your first lodge on this trip. Gorge's Lodge, about half an hour's drive from the airport. It's about 5 miles downstream of Victoria Falls on the Batoka Gorge. And that's the lodge there, built on the edge of the gorge. I tell people it's some of the best views in southern Africa. You're looking down to the water below you, 800-900 feet below you, and you've got a view spanning 2 or 3 miles. The views from here are truly spectacular. The other thing that makes Gorge's Lodge very, very special, and part of what we're very proud of, you can see in the background of that picture there's some villages. And what that is Gorge's Lodge is built on community land. We've had this lodge on community land for nearly 20 years now. We've been paying royalties and rentals to our local communities, and that money is used in their schools and clinics. Our staff here walk to work in the mornings and walk home in the evenings. This is ecotourism. This is the real thing. All right, that's one of the guest accommodation units over there. You can see the stone and thatch. We also have 5 luxury tents, which are beautiful as well. You're about a 30-40 minute drive from Vic Falls town. People always ask about Wi-Fi. We have Wi-Fi in the main lodge of our lodges. This lodge also has a swimming pool. And those guest accommodation units are all spread out in an indigenous garden along the gorge edge. All right, and that gives you an idea about these stunning views I keep talking about here. On the right-hand side, there's the dining room. That's where you have coffee and breakfast in the morning. There, the sunrise. The sun is rising over the Batoka Gorge and the Zambezi River. What a great way to start your day. Interior of the one of the stone chalets. You can see the big twin double beds there. Fans, nice big modern refurb and rebuild we did a couple of years ago. There's the interior of the bathrooms. Double showers, double sinks, well-appointed bathroom. All right, and of course the wonderful thing here is that's the deck in front of one of our luxury tents. And obviously the guest, you have a great place to have a glass of wine in the evening or a cup of coffee in the mornings. And this particular spot leads on to the next photo. I took that picture from that spot. Gorge's Lodge doesn't have elephants and lions, but it does because we're in a communal land there. But we do have incredible birds of prey. And this is a Vero's eagle, used to be called a black eagle, that they fly past at eye level, hunting along the gorge edge. One of the activities that first evening will be an eagle interaction. Just a great chance even for the non-bird watchers to enjoy these fantastic raptors. In the evening, have a traditional dance show. The Chisuma boys come up from the village. They walk up in the evenings and put on a great show. Lots of fun. They enjoy it. Very, very interactive with the guests. There's my friend Barbara Banks enjoying showing the local boys some of her moves. And of course, it's great fun. Everybody has some fun, both the Chisuma boys and our guests. All right, the next day, the most important thing that we do, the reason why we're here is we head off up to Victoria Falls to go and see the falls. And I said earlier what a wonderful spectacle they are. They're nearly, when the river's full, they're nearly a mile wide, nearly 300 feet high, biggest curtain of falling water in the world. This is a dry season picture, which just illustrates something. That's the Zambezi River falling over the Victoria Falls. And on the left-hand side of the picture is Zimbabwe, on the right-hand side Zambia. But you can see why the viewing from the Zimbabwean side is so much better. The other thing you can see there is that's the railway bridge in the foreground that links the two countries. And that leads on to what we do in the afternoons, which is to visit Victoria Falls Hotel. Wonderful old bit of colonial history here, and a great place to have lunch or high tea. And of course you look across the mist and the spray of the falls, and there's our railway bridge. It was completed in about 1904, I believe. All right, the next day we depart from Gorge's Lodge and we head up to the airport, and we'll embark you on a light aircraft. The light aircraft will travel across Hwange National Park all the way down to the airstrip at Bomani, and that's some of you where you'll be met by our Land Rovers and our team. All right, Hwange National Park is without doubt one of the great parks of Africa, but to a large extent it's been forgotten. 5,000 square miles, 46,000 elephant, 500 lions, the biggest species, large mammal and bird species diversity that we have in Zimbabwe. Fantastic population of wild dog, one of the largest populations of this endangered predator anywhere in Africa. And you can see where we are down there. If you look on the right-hand side of that map, down in the southeast, there's the airstrip at Vamani, and there's Camelthorne Lodge on the periphery of the park. Because it's on the periphery of the park, it makes a whole bunch of interesting options available for us, including wildlife-based and cultural activities. And I'll talk you through some of those that we'll enjoy while you're staying at Camelthorne Lodge. All right, there's a picture of the lodge. It's built in a wonderful piece of woodland on the community land again. 8 forest villas that are both warm in the cool months and cool in the hot months. Okay, again, we're on community land, so we're paying royalties and rentals to the local communities. That all supports their social programs in that part of in this part of the world. Very, very proud of this program that we run there. The activities that we'll do down here is obviously the game drives, some game walks. We'll go down and visit our next door neighbors at the village. The wonderful photography blind we call the look-up blind, and we'll go for an all-day trip into the park we call a pump run. All right, that's the scene of that's the big camelthorn tree. That's our namesake, huge acacia tree, favored by giraffe. And what a wonderful place to come and have brunch when you come back for a game drive. In the warm months, particularly like September, great place to have dinner out there under the tree by candlelight. There's our friend Notando, who is a well-respected member of our community, who works at our lodge, and she'll greet you there with your welcome drink. With a big smile on her face. She's happy to see guests coming to her lodge. Once you get inside there, you can see it's well appointed, comfortable. That's the reception area leading through to the dining room through that doorway there. There's the entrance. There's the dining lounge area. Large, spacious. During the cooler months, for perhaps the July departures, you can see you can close up the doors there, get the fires going inside there. It's a nice cozy place to enjoy dinner and linger over a glass of wine after supper. All right, this is one of the guest accommodation units. We call them forest villas. They've built in kind of a Mediterranean style, and that's so they can be cool during the hot months and warm during the cooler months. That little maisonette up on the front there is a great place to spend the siesta hour, catching up on your journal and maybe editing some of your pictures. You look inside the room again, it's modern, well appointed. You hear a lot of talk about, excuse me one second, you hear a lot of talk about some of the Zimbabwean lodges being a little bit worn out. I hope these pictures can dispel that myth. Through that archway at the top of the picture there leads into the bathroom, so you have an ensuite bathroom. But one of the most wonderful things about Camelthorne is these fireplaces in your rooms. You can warm the rooms up in the evening. You can walk around in your jammies and be perfectly comfy. In the corner there you can see a bar fridge which has got cool drinks to enjoy, and the butler's hatch where our staff will deliver coffee to you in the mornings. It's obviously the bathroom. You can see it's well appointed, modern, comfortable bath and shower. There's a loo behind the door. You can see in the bottom left-hand corner there, the wooden frame. And of course, what a great way to relax at the end of a long day on safari, a bubble bath with candles. All right, this picture leads on to something else. You know, this is a recurring theme that will be part of this whole journey, is how we're linking visitors such as yourselves with our conservation programs and our community programs. I'm going to kick off here with one of the conservation programs that's unique to Hwange National Park. When Hwange Park was first set aside in 1928, the first warden, a man called Ted Davison, spent several years walking around the park with some of the local sand people who showed him around. What he found out is they'd given him a national park without any major rivers, which meant that there's no year-round surface water there. What used to happen back in his day was the wildlife, the large mammals in particular, would be able to enjoy water during the rainy season, but as our dry season developed, the surface water would dry up and animals had to leave the park. Of course, the young Ted Davison had been given clear instructions to look after wildlife, guard it, protect it, and develop it. And when the wildlife would leave his park every year, it would run into trouble with the expanding human populations outside the park. So what Ted did with the best will in the world was in 1935, he put his first windmill in. Those windmills were put in to pump water to the surface, and of course he could keep his wildlife inside the park, and they flourished. And under his care, all of the wildlife and his beloved elephant flourished and increased. By the time I came to work as a young ranger in 1980, we were actually taking down some of Ted Davison's windmills because they weren't pumping enough water. And my bosses had us replacing them with diesel engines so we could pump enough water. The idea of any of our animals being thirsty and not being able to get a drink when they needed it was something that we couldn't countenance. Okay, of course, what we're doing today now is we're switching a lot of those diesel programs over to solar. That's a solar unit on top of Makona ranger station where we pump water down below on the hill for the water hole there for the elephants. All right, one of the things we started doing years ago in this part of the park is during the hard times in Zimbabwe is I started taking guests, put my old game ranger hat on and started taking guests back deep into the park. You can see the trailer behind the vehicle there. We've got diesel on there. We've got picnic lunch. And we go and help look after the water holes inside Hwange. Just try and keep Hwange's thirsty herds with water. And this photo here is taken in the evening on the way back to camp. And you can see there's lots of water in the pan. There's the elephants coming in to drink. And it's a wonderful way for guests to get involved in conservation. This picture here illustrates what goes on while we're down at the water holes. This is a big herd of thirsty elephant here, and they're enjoying some of the water there. This is a late dry season picture, probably September, October. Of course, and while we're there, we always have a picnic lunch during siesta time. And there we are preparing, it looks like cheeseburgers for lunch. And, of course, nice cold refreshments to wash them down. Nice and comfortable, nice way to enjoy a siesta in the middle part of the day. These all-day trips into the park always hark back to a forgotten era when safari was just like this. You'd go and spend a nice day out in the bush, and it wasn't always rushing backwards and forwards to the lodge for meals, but you could stay out there and enjoy a meal under a shady tree and enjoy the wildlife. This next picture just illustrates exactly that. This young lady here is relaxed and enjoying. She's actually got a sketch pad out and just enjoying a quiet moment in the bush. Okay, there's my friend Sibs again. This is the kind of activities that we can do on our day trip into the park. We don't just drive around. If we see something interesting, we alight from the vehicles. Zimbabwean pro guides are the best in Africa because we have one of the longest and most arduous training programs of any of the countries in Africa, and we are allowed to walk in our parks, and we're armed, and we obviously take care of our guests. But what a wonderful experience and opportunity to enjoy Hwange's incredible spectacle while on foot. This is again Sibs leading a group of guests into some buffalo here, and what a great chance to experience our wildlife. This photo here is one that we took on the way back coming from one of these all-day trips. There's a beautiful evening light now. We're visiting the water holes. There's our elephant enjoying the water that we've helped provide them with. What a wonderful chance for those of you who are keen photographers. And there you go. Everybody, you can imagine the kind of picture that young lady's taking there with the elephants in the sunset. All right, back at camp we'll have a nice evening, either under the camel thorn tree or in the warm, cozy dining room. But the next day what we do is we take you in the other direction. And now we go across into the villages, our next door neighbors and our landlords, and we go to visit the communities there. A great way to start this morning off is to, when we leave camp, is in Zimbabwe, our kids don't go to school in yellow buses or anything like that. What they do is they walk to school every day. So generally we'll join the kids at a particular village that might be a mile or two or a mile or so from the village school, and we walk to school with the kids. Kind of a fun way to start the morning. You can see on that vehicle there all the grade 1s and grade 2s, all the littlies get a free ride to school while we walk off to school. And of course when we arrive at school now, it's a great chance now to have some interactions with these kids. Our headmasters and teachers encourage us to bring guests to visit the schools, and usually they align our visits with what are the English lessons. And of course this is a great chance for these kids to meet people from all over the world. I have horror images from the 1980s when I used to see people driving from the airport throwing candy at Zimbabwean school kids. And that's the paradigm that we've broken away from, where we actually bring guests and young Zimbabwean school kids together in a real and authentic experience. I love this picture particularly because I remember the kids asked him what part of America he was from. And he, in a huff, explained to them, no, there was another country in North America called the Canada, and he's showing them where Toronto is. But you can imagine those young Zimbabwean school kids there won't forget
won't forget about Canada and Toronto. Of course, there's my friend Barbara again, and she's there with the kids, and she's running through a lesson. It looks like a nature study lesson there, and look at the fun the kids are having and she's having. Just a real chance for guests and for Zimbabwean kids to interact on an authentic way. One of the favorite things that our teachers love to do, of course, is teach the guests Indebele. And for those of you that speak Indebele, that word up there, amakoko, means frogs, and amakanda means eggs. And of course, the kids always have great fun when the guests from overseas can't pronounce their clicks properly. It's a chance for them to get back at us because they've been struggling how to spell enough and through and things like that. All right, one of the other things we'll do afterwards is actually visit a real Zimbabwean village. Yes, some guests are, they're going through typical Zimbabwean daily life. They're pounding some millet there. Good chance later on to have some, see how we prepare real meals in a Zimbabwean village. Real, authentic and real Zimbabwean experience. This particular here is a great one. This is some of our guests from last year. We were visiting Mr. Johnson Ngobe, who's the headman at Ngomo village, and it was his birthday that day. And one of the guests suggested we should take him a birthday present. We took him a nice bottle of Chardonnay. You can see everybody's having fun. It's like I said, it's a real authentic way to visit our friends and neighbors. All right, this picture here is illustrates what we'll do after our village visit. Is we'll head down to a waterhole called Stoffie's Pan, and under the tree on the left-hand side there, you can see we have a sunken photography blind. It's just a great place to get up close with the with Hwange's wildlife and get some fantastic photography. Okay, that's one of our young hostesses, Desna, and she's serving cheeseburgers for lunch. And there we are underneath that tree. They're having cheeseburgers for lunch before we move into our photography blind. You can see a big herd of buffalo at the waterhole there, and I think there's some elephants coming in there as well just now. That's us finishing off lunch. You can see the hippos out, the buffalo are out before we move into the photography blind. Okay, that's an illustration of the experience that you can enjoy inside there. You can see the guests here getting some great photographs of the elephants, and also a great opportunity to enjoy these incredible mammals up close. All kinds of photography, not just of the elephant. But think about the pictures that those people are taking and that they're able to bring back home. A wonderful chance to really see how elephants interact. You know, they're such social animals. There's so many things going on between the males and between the grandmothers and the mothers and the calves. And that's the kind of picture that you can take from there. Obviously, you're low down, you're at toe level, and everybody gets a picture like that, one of Hwange's magnificent giants. That picture I love, favorite picture, taking with splashing water and elephants enjoying the water and youngsters being sprayed by mom's water. All right, this next picture takes us on to what we're doing the next day. And remember, at the beginning of my talk here, I spoke a little bit about the railway line that reaches up to the bridge across Victoria Falls and also runs along the northern boundary of Hwange. This railway line was laid in 1904 by Rhodes. This is a historic railroad that he rushed through to get to Victoria Falls in time for Queen Victoria's Diamond Jubilee. And of course, that railway line actually predates the park. There's not an animal in Hwange National Park that hasn't grown up with that railway line. So it's very, very much part of the scenery and one of the things that makes Hwange unique. So what we do to make it is we use that railway line the next day here with our Elephant Express, our private rail car that'll take you up halfway to your next lodge, Nahimba. And this is one of our open game drive vehicles, and our guests have just climbed on the Elephant Express and they're about to depart up the railway line. It's about a 50-mile run, takes about 2 hours, but like all things in Africa, sometimes it takes 3. And we see lots of wildlife along the way. We might stop and enjoy the ride. Great fun trip, an absolutely unique way to enjoy the wildlife and the scenery that we are privileged to have in Hwange. That picture takes you back there. If you look, that's a map, obviously, and that down on the right-hand side, you can see where Camelthorne is, you can see where Ngamo Siding is, and that's where we jump on the Elephant Express, and we travel northwest up to the upper left-hand side. You can see where we go to Det. And there we alight from our Elephant Express, and then we jump into one of our game viewing Land Rovers, and we head westwards towards Nahimba Lodge. You can see Nahimba Lodge is that red dot on the left-hand side of the picture there. And of course, like I said, we're driving along the Elephant Express, and there's some elephants crossing, so we stop, take some pictures. That picture over there, you can see one of our engineers, Mr. Ngobe, he's got 34 years of train driving up and down this railway track. He knows it like we know our own driveway. There's some guests enjoying inside. You can see the size. Nice place we can walk around inside and enjoy. And of course, we serve meals on the Elephant Express as well. You can see behind these guests here is that's actually a train passing. And what we've done here is between Detton and Gamo, there are 8 sidings where we can pull into to allow trains to pass by. And there's very seldom we see a train, but every now and then there's a train, and it's very, very easy to do. We pull into a siding, let the train pass, serve lunch, and off we go again. And of course, that's just a wonderful illustration of what a great experience it is. That's a great kudu bull there, and the guests taking pictures. There's my friend Barbara again. She's having fun. Look at the grin on her face as she's riding the Elephant Express. And of course, you have to be aware of elephant. All right, when we get up to northern Hwange now, we've alighted from the Elephant Express. We're in our game drive vehicle. We've gone into northern Hwange. What's interesting about northern Hwange is completely different to southern Hwange. We have topography here. We call them mountains. I know you guys from North America laugh at us when we call them mountains, but they are to us. There's a herd of buffalo down below us. But what's neat is you've got a completely different, it feels like a different place. And the camp is a completely different style to the other camps. That's a dry season picture there. You can see the guest accommodation units and the main lodge spread in an arc around the waterhole at Nahimba. And there's buffalo and elephant and all kinds of things. The wildlife experience at Nahimba is very intense, right up close and personal, and very, very unique. All right, we call them thatched tents. They've got thatched roofs, canvas walls, glass sliding doors. It's in a private concession in northern Hwange, where you have complete exclusivity, and here we do drives and walks. And of course, you can just sit on your deck like that chap is over there with his feet up watching the elephant. One of the wonderful things in the Nahimba area is also the Nahimba seeps, which I'll take you to now in a few minutes and explain to you about. All right, Hwange's elephant don't differentiate between water holes and swimming pools. And of course, we have a swimming pool right by the deck there at the main lodge, and it's just the elephants come and enjoy the water, actually often more than we do. And there's some of our guests there. You can see this is lunchtime. That's Mr. Bill Abbott and his wife Barbara. They're at lunch here, and they've stood up from the lunchtime table, and the elephants are having a drink there, and you can see the kind of intense, up-close, wonderful experience you can have with Hwange's gentle giants. Isn't that a wonderful image for you to take home to bring you back after your trip? That's Barbara there, and you can see the smile on her face. She's having great fun. There's some other wilderness guests. This is nighttime around the pool, same thing. That's one of Hwange's gentle giants there. Hwange's elephant are renowned in Africa for being well-behaved, well-mannered. They're a population elephant that do not have not been harassed historically. This kind of thing you can't always do with some of the elephants elsewhere in Africa where they've been severely harassed historically. Okay, it's the interior of one of the guest accommodation units. We've set up with either twin double beds or with king beds. You can see the bathroom ensuite inside over there. And the other thing that's fun outside is an outside shower. It's always great to shower under the stars for those of you a little more adventurous. Interior of the bath, if you prefer a bubble bath inside, there you go. Nice way to relax after a long day out in Hwange. All right, one of the favorite things we're going to do the next day is take you down to the Nahimba seeps. And the Nahimba seeps are a really special place in Africa. There's very few places in Hwange where you can dig for water and find water naturally. If you go back to when the Sand people roamed across this park, this was one of the few places where they could dig and get water. And here's one of our guests this last year getting some great photography at the seeps. Here you can see these old bulls. They're sucking up water from the holes that they've dug. I mean, they've been spraying themselves with some of the with some of the water and mud from here that's kind of uniquely grey and white because it's got so many minerals in which they love. One of the reasons it's called a seep is because when one of those elephant bulls takes a drink, he sucks a trunk full of water up, drinks it, and then he has to wait while the water seeps back into the hole. It might take a minute or two. It's very quiet, very patient, slow pace of things going on. And of course, look at these wonderful pictures you can take at sunset there. Great images for you to bring back home. All right, Hwange's lions are famous. This particular lion is a lion called Vusi. You can see we're up in northern Hwange here. Beautiful, beautiful lion. What is extraordinary about the lions in northern Hwange is that we have as many lions in Hwange Park as we can sustain. You can see this poor old guy, he's been beaten up badly and he's having to fight with these young lions. There's no shortage of lions in Hwange. Hwange doesn't always have as many lions as some of the other great parks of Africa, like Kruger and Serengeti. We're more famous for our elephants, but guests that come on safari with us will be able to enjoy some of these incredible predators. Our lionesses, of course, are wonderful. This is a nice early morning shot during the cool months, sort of June, July. The guests that come in July, you can see our guests over there wrap themselves up in a blanket for their early morning game drive. It's a little bit cool. There's some beautiful lionesses there near a waterhole called Shumba. Here's one of our great cheetah. This is one of the, we call them the Bamani boys. It's the coalition of 2 male cheetah that live down near Camelthorne. They're the Bamani boys are in action. That poor young wildebeest, and there the breast that wildebeest herd is coming, and they actually drove those cheetah off. I didn't get too good a picture of that, but here's a kudu, and there's that coalition of males down the south, not far at all from Camelthorne. You can imagine the photography and pictures and the experience those guests are enjoying there. She's one of my favorite animals. That's the lady cheetah who lives down near Camelthorne. This last year she had 5 cubs and she raised all 5. You can imagine the work that a single mom has to do to be able to raise those guys up to adulthood. And there's a picture of them I took a couple of months back. They're up and about and they're out hunting on their own now. A great tribute to a superior individual there. All right, we've got great wild dog in Hwange National Park. We've got more, some people call them painted dog now. I'm a bit old school, but we have more painted dog in Hwange National Park than anywhere else in Zimbabwe. It's the largest population. It also is the largest contiguous population of these endangered predators, with the population that's in Botswana, the largest population in Africa. What's interesting about this picture, and this gives you an idea about some of the link-ups we talk about with tourism and with conservation, if you focus in on that, on the neck of that painted dog in the foreground there, you can see a small piece of wire. This is a picture I took at New Year of the year before last, 2015. This is New Year of 2016, I'm sorry. And when I was looking at these pictures in the evening, my blood ran cold when I saw that piece of wire around that dog's neck. She's been caught in a wire snare that's set for bushmeat. Obviously, she roamed outside the park at some point. What we did is we called the guys in from Painted Dog, and here's a picture of where we tranquilized that dog and actually cut that wire snare off of her. This was about a week after I took that picture. This is in kind of early January of 2016. This picture is a cool one because this is some of our guests, and there's my friend Sib Sibanda again. He snuck up on his Painted Dog, and they're having a wonderful experience on foot. This is just a short distance from Camelthorne Lodge. I was standing behind with my camera taking pictures again, and if you look at that Painted Dog on the left-hand side there, you can see she's got a big pot belly, and that's not because she's got a pot belly full of meat. She's got a belly full of pups. And absolutely thrilled when I looked at the pictures here. I could tell from her markings that was our friend Cusp, who had taken the snare off a few months back. This picture was the next one I got of her a few months later. You can see the scar wound on around her neck, and there her pups are below her. But just a wonderful story about how travel and conservation run hand in hand. And this is just a story of when we had some guests visiting our area, we could turn a very sad story into a wonderful one. This is a picture I took at New Year this year now, on the very 1st of 2017. And there's Cusp, she's lying down on the left-hand side of that picture, and there's her pups on the right, and they're all up and about and flourishing. With a great success story about how these things work hand in hand, and how guests can enjoy it as well, can appreciate it and get involved. All right, Hwange is not just about the predators and the elephant. Here's a lovely old buffalo bull, giving you the look that has made them famous. Wildebeest. In East Africa they call them canoe. And look at that there. There's some guests on foot on the Bamani concession there and enjoying the hippo. That particular hippo is a youngster born inside a concession there earlier in the early part of last year. You can see the oxpecker birds on his back there getting ticks. This photograph here is of the Ngamo Plains, and this is one of the unique things in southern Hwange. Hwange is not famous for its plains like East Africa is, but this particular patch of savanna grassland area is the biggest in Hwange National Park. And of course what that does for us is create some great species diversity. And part of what guests on this safari will enjoy is a wide range of species. And just in this photo here you can see eland and zebra and wildebeest. But Hwange is also famous for its other antelope that you don't see in other parts of southern Africa or East Africa. There's a beautiful sable antelope, and there's a roan antelope. And you see them both in the south and the north, around Camelthorne and at Nehemba. Roan antelope, very rare. And of course, firm favorites with everybody are giraffe. I spoke about them earlier and them eating the acacia trees. There's a nice herd of them. But safari is not just about the big stuff too. Always there's some incredibly beautiful smaller animals. These are some pygmy mongooses. I got that picture early one morning on a walk. And there's a Mapani squirrel up on a tree, and you can see he's sticking his tongue out at us for some reason. Night drives, we love doing night drives. Either on our way back to camp in the evenings or on a dedicated night drive. That's a genet, related to your raccoons over here. And of course, Hwange Park is full of wonderful bird life, even for the non-bird watchers. That's a Kori bustard, and he's nearly 6 foot tall, a wonderful bird. He's in full mating display there. There's a tawny eagle who'd stolen some meat from one of the wild dog kills last year. And our crowned cranes. That image there, you can see the nice green grass and water behind. This I'll talk a little bit about the seasons of Hwange, but that's a nice, beautiful green season image. And that giant eagle owl there I took with a flash, and that, obviously the flash turned his eyes red, but look at the blood on his bill and the blood on his feet. Nocturnal predator. All right, I just alluded briefly to the wet season of Hwange. Right now, while I'm in America, obviously it's raining back home, and Hwange Park is having tremendous rainfall that we're thrilled about. Northern Hwange is a little bit difficult during the wet season, but southern Hwange is wonderful. There's some plains. You can see the grass here. It's sandy, and we can drive around. And look at these images here. Experienced safari travelers will associate images like this with the Okavango Delta in Botswana, but this is Hwange during the wet season. Look at that beautiful image. Open green grasslands and elephants enjoying lots of water and food. And of course these kind of things are going on. There's some young jackal pups playing with bones and green grass. All right, back to I left you at Nehemba Lodge earlier on. You can see it in the lower part of the that map. And what we do from here is we take you on a 2 or 3 hour game drive through northern Hwange, across the hills of northern Hwange up to Mbala Gate. You can see Mbala Gate, and that's where we exit the park. And you'll jump on a closed minibus, and we'll head off northwest up to the left-hand corner of the park, up to Victoria Falls, where we started our journey. And then we'll take you all the way up to Zambezi Sands River Camp, up in the far northwest of that map on the left-hand top corner there. Okay, Zambezi Sands Camp is one of our newest camps and maybe arguably our flagship. It's a beautiful tented camp on the banks of the Zambezi River, and after you've been in Hwange Park for 5 nights, the Zambezi River is a great joy. Luxury tents, quiet, exclusive location, private plunge pools on the deck, just a really nice, relaxed atmosphere, and just a great place to finish a safari, chilled and relaxed. Those are the tents you'll be staying in, and those tents, I think they're nearly 50 feet long and 40 feet wide. They're huge. Inside there's a bathroom, a lounge, there's a large bedroom, and of course look at that lovely plunge pool. What a great place to spend an hour or 2 relaxing during midday siesta. There's one of the twin double-bedded rooms, and there's the view over the Zambezi River. What a great place to relax and wind down after your safari. Inside we've got baths, and outside a shower. Again, what a great place to what a great way to have a shower early morning under the trees. All right, one of the big reasons you come to the Zambezi River is so that you can enjoy some water-based activities. We've been bouncing around in Land Rovers and going for walks, but of course one of the real fun things to do here is to go for some cruises on the Zambezi. That's a lovely picture there that shows the Zambezi River and the islands. You can see in the foreground there those white canoes there. And here's some of our guests. They've just finished their safety talk with my friend Blessing. He's on the right-hand side there. Blessing, like Sibs, is one of Zimbabwe's great guides, and he's been guiding all over Africa, He's been working for us for a number of years now, and he's our canoeing expert. Those ladies have just had their safety talk and they're about to embark on a canoeing safari. Okay, one of the things we do these days in Zimbabwe now is we have inflatable canoes. They're safer, they're more comfortable, they're very, very stable, and what a great way to enjoy the Zambezi River. You don't need to do much hardcore paddling. It's really just about some steering. Look at those ladies. Look at the smiles on their faces. They've just had, this is at the end of their trip, and you can see the evening light, and they've had a wonderful short afternoon on the Zambezi. For those of you a little more adventurous, the other channels of the Zambezi will offer a little bit of white water and some fun and excitement. And often I hear guys like Blessing will tell you that to be careful as you go through the rapids, but those inflatable canoes are incredibly stable and safe, and you can bounce your way through those rapids. We love having breakfast on the Zambezi River, and we serve meals at all our lodges, often al fresco, surprise breakfasts, surprise dinners, and there's the guys getting together a nice breakfast on the Zambezi River. The hippos are some of the things that you will see there. What you find on the upper Zambezi where we are is a much lower density than there is on the lower Zambezi. We take great care and have a number of safety protocol to make sure that we can that your trip is safe and comfortable. All right, we're at the end of our trip now, sadly. Of course, that's sunrise at Zambezi Sands just before breakfast, and you'll have a leisurely start this morning before we take you back to Victoria Falls Airport. It's about an hour's drive away for you to embark on your flight home, or to embark on your extension trips that you can add onto this particular safari. All right, I think it's very important for me just to touch on a little bit here about the ethos of Imvelo Safari Lodges and wilderness travel, how we link our tourism programs with both our communities and the conservation. I love this particular picture because it goes back to when we were building Camelthorn Lodge, and I tell the story often, but it's a true story. When we were working there, we had 83 young men and women who were helping us build there, and in a country with 90% unemployment or more, about 60 of those young men and women were working for the first time in their lives. You can imagine the pride they had taking money back to their families for the first time. You can imagine how those families and those people view our lodge and view our programs. Just a major life-saving, changing lives in remote areas of Zimbabwe. I love this picture too. That's one of our young guides. That's Vusa, who's a product of this community. He's a product of the school. And here he is as a guide going back to the school where he was educated. We're taking birdbacks there, and he's educating young school kids there. Look at all those kids. Look at him. What a great role model he is. That photo there is another one that I show often, but it talks about some of the things we do in the communities. We've been looking after water for the wildlife inside the park, but of course we have to look after water for our communities nearby as well. We've drilled over 60 wells in that communal land, Cholocho communal land for the communities. And this particular well we were drilling at Sepepa Hospital. There the hospital is in the background. That hospital had gone nearly 10 years without any water at all. You can imagine trying to run a rural hospital with no water. But what's interesting about this picture is those girls proudly showing off for the camera there are actually high school students who are on detention. I think they'd been talking or something like that in class, and they've been sent down to get buckets of water to take up to the school. So these wells that we put all over this communal land, they're providing water for, in this case, the hospital, the high school, the junior school, and the communities there. Just again, changing lives. This picture here is a before picture. This is one of the schools at a place called Kapani. You can imagine trying to educate kids inside that classroom block there with asbestos falling on their heads. Terrible state of affairs. Here's one of our heroes of Zimbabwe society. That's one of our school teachers, and there she is. She's trying to teach about 40 or 50 kids, and they're sitting on the floor. They're sitting around sharing pencils. The kind of programs that we do in our communities there. There's a picture there. That's one of the classroom blocks that we built. That's actually at Mlevo School. I think we are on about our 9th classroom block now to try and rectify this state of affairs. And there, look inside there. Look at that. Contrast that image there with the image you saw earlier. This is a place where kids look forward to going and learning, and they have a chance of getting a decent education. All through tourism and all through these tourism programs and all through the fact that companies such as Wilderness Travel are bringing guests to remote rural areas of Zimbabwe. I love this picture too, because this kind of illustrates how this all links together. And on the right-hand side there, that hovel was a teacher's cottage. There's on the left-hand side is a teacher about to move into a new cottage. But look what she's done. Look what they've done on the roof of her cottage. They've carved that elephant in there. And straight away now we're already seeing signs all over where all our communities have got a strong linkage between conservation, looking after wildlife, and what follows next is the tourists come and visit us, and the tourists are taking care of us. So we have this trinity of conservation, community, and wildlife developing. And look at the smiles on those kids' faces. Last year, through the drought in Zimbabwe, our company, with philanthropy and with help from our guests, we were feeding over 2,500 kids at schools in our part of Zimbabwe. Look at this. Look at the grins on those kids' faces. They're not being paid to smile either. I love that picture too. Our Elephant Express we don't only use for our guests, but these kids that are in these remote rural schools around Hwange National Park, they can never afford to go on safari. They can never go to Hwange. What we do, we load them up in the Elephant Express, and they go into Hwange Park, and there they are. They're enjoying a herd of zebra. And look at the smiles on those kids' faces. They've been on their first safari in Hwange Park. What a pleasure. All right, one of the other programs that we run that I'm particularly proud of, I have 18 Spanish and Italian dentists, 2 of whom were guests of ours many years ago, but they bring a team together and they come and do free dental clinics all the way around Hwange National Park and up to the falls. And here's an image of one of the doctors helping kids. You can imagine kids who have no access to any dental care at all. You can imagine the relief that they get from these guys. Here's school kids having their annual checkups that's Ramon and Alberto there. And 2 years ago, Pablo joined the team. He's an optometrist. What he does is he helps, particularly with older people, but sometimes kids too. Look at the smile on that gentleman's face there. He hasn't been able to read for the past 8 or 9 years. Now he's got a $5 second-hand pair of spectacles, and now he can read again. Really changing lives. That picture there is what I call my Dentist Safari scorecard. This gives you an idea about the scale of this program that all started through tourism. Back in 2011 there, you can see we did 1,173 patients. And that year I actually know we did 1,174 because I needed a filling. But I remember when they did my filling, they were commenting on the fact that all 1,173 mouths that they had previously looked into had no signs of any previous dental care at all. So there in 2011 we had a situation where there was no dental care. That year I think we did 3.5 procedures per mouth. And if you follow my scorecard through to 2012 and 2013, 2014, we get to even just to 2015. That year we did 2,500 patients. And I know that year there were over 200 of them were all clears. So now we've got people coming in for their annual dental checkups. My dentists are looking into their mouths, seeing it's all clear, everything's okay, give them a toothbrush, go home, guys, we'll see you next year. What's fun there as well is you can see that was our first year. We had Pablo with his optometry. He did 221 patients. If you go through to 2016, I haven't even started analyzing these figures yet, but he did 1,256 patients last year. A wonderful program that all starts through tourism, supported through philanthropy from our guests, and it's changing lives amongst our communities. Okay, and the important thing that I just wind up here is it's not just about the elephants and the wildlife and looking after the conservation. It's not just about the tourists having fun in our parks as well, but it's also about the people. And there's some young kids there. They're getting water, and what are they doing? They're watering their vegetables so they can feed themselves and they don't need handouts. Just a very, very important conservation message throughout Africa is linking tourism, wildlife, and people. And we have a successful program. All right, I think if there's anybody who's, I'm going to be handing over here to Jeff and to Barbara, who are going to wind up here, and we're going to field any kind of questions that you guys have. Thanks a lot. Here's over to Jeffy.
So, Butch, we have one question here about whether this trip is reasonably, is okay for reasonably fit seniors. So that might be something also as far as the trip grade that you or Jeffy can address.
Yeah, absolutely. We've set this trip up to be comfortable for relatively fit seniors, no problem at all. One of the things that happens is we actually have 2 vehicles with us all the time, plus a 3rd backup vehicle. So if we are doing an activity that a guest thinks might be a little bit more active than he or she would prefer, we can split up and they can do something less so. I think I'm right in saying this trip is classified with Wilderness Travel as a 2A, a 2 plus, yeah, a 2 plus trip. So it's not a hardcore hiking trip by any manner of means.
Thanks, Butch, and what a great presentation. You'll notice on the slide there all of our departures that we're offering in 2017. We are still offering our March 11th departures, so for any last-minute sign-ups or interest in the trip, we can certainly confirm your space. Just give our office a call and we can confirm you with a $600 per person deposit, and we'd love to take you on any of the departures you see on the screen.
Which is another question. You mentioned that it can get very cold. You have fires at Camel Thorn. Can you just talk about temperatures in Hwange during July and August?
Yeah, thanks. Look, we are thin-blooded Africans over there, so what we consider cold is not necessarily so for North Americans. In our coldest months, which would be June, July, there's a July departure there. Daytime temperatures are going to be in the mid-70s, but it's clear, sunny skies. But at night, because there are clear skies, temperatures will sometimes drop down into the 40s. But often only the 50s. But be prepared. Hwange rarely will get frost. But what does happen is the next morning, as soon as the sun gets up at about 6:30 or 7, by 7:30, the sun is shining again and things warm up. So it's chilly, but not cold by your standards.
So related to the question regarding packing and laundry. Assume you have laundry facilities. Can you just address that?
That's correct. What I can tell you is that our lodges, we have daily laundry. So provided you get laundry in with our staff by first thing in the morning, generally speaking, it'll be dry and ironed and back when you get back in the evening. So what that means is you don't need to travel with 4 or 5 changes of gear. What we do and what we developed last year was that because of the air travel on the one leg, is that we recommend that you keep your luggage light. However, we do have a backup vehicle that follows along behind. So for any extra luggage that might be over the weight limit, we can tag along behind and it'll catch up with you a couple hours later. Does that answer the question?
I think the last question we have here, you talk about walking safaris. Talk a little bit more in depth about the guide training for Zimbabwean professional guides.
Yeah, okay. One of the things that's unique about Zimbabwe is that we have a guide training program a young learner guide has to go through. It can often take him 6 or 7 years before he can get a full license as a pro guide for walking. And this program, by the time we finish, I know I'm an ex-examiner, and I know I get a lot of young examiners now that often ask what criteria to use before we license one of our young guides. And typically, I know one of the things that I always tell new examiners is never to give a license to a young guide unless you would be comfortable with him walking with your family in the national park. So it's very much about safety, and we're very, very conscious of it. What that does mean is that the experience that you can enjoy when we go for a game drive in Hwange Park, it's often we can have completely impromptu and unchoreographed, where we might see a herd of buffalo off on the side, and we'll jump off the Land Rover and go and take a short walk and look at them. For our guests as well, is that these walks don't necessarily be long marches or anything that are dedicated to it. It's a short stroll. We're not talking about a long distance hike across mountains or anything like that, but just a nice way to enjoy the bush. Of course, there's all kinds of things you see when you're on foot, and all kinds of experiences that you can enjoy, and we thoroughly recommend it to our guests. Okay, if there's I don't see any other questions coming in, but if there's anything else, give us a shout, and Jeffy here can respond. You see Jeffy's email address there, jeffy@wilderness-travel.com. I'm going to pass over to her.
Okay, thanks Butch so much. Again, such a great presentation, and we encourage everybody to reach out by phone or email to Wilderness Travel. Again, the contact info is below. You can shoot me a direct email at jeffy@wilderness-travel.com or give us a call at the phone number listed, and we look forward to welcoming you aboard to Zimbabwe. Thanks.